As a kid growing up, Christmas was my favorite holiday. I used to look forward to it so much. You wake up early, you run out to the living room just to find out what new presents were there waiting for you. Now, when all the unwrapping was done, I would grab up all my presents, throw them down on my bed, and organize them from best present ever down to like socks or books. And usually it would go something like this: new video game, Transformers, lawn darts, matches, Legos, pack of smokes, new Care Bear, Star Wars toys, Hulk hands, Game Boy, Micro Machine, Ninja Stars, the book Little Women. I mean, they weren't even little. I don't understand that. They were like the size of regular women. So dumb. Anyway, here's my point. Fantasy football is a lot the same, right? We have a lot of new rookies coming in this year, and it's time for us to organize them from best to worst, starting with the top 10 rookies here for 2020 fantasy football. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today, where we're talking about some rookies. That's right, the rookie hype always goes out of control here in the offseason. So in this episode, I have my top 10 rookies. But to continue the theme of helping you think outside the box, helping you actually become better at fantasy football, we're going to approach it a little bit different. I could sit here and just tell you the 10 names in order. You watch it, you click off, and you move on with your day. But it doesn't really help you. So this is what we're going to do. This is how we're switching it up. Shout out to Chris Kennedy. Our own Chris Kennedy came up with this idea. I have my top 10 rookies as of right now, and no, Joe Burrow is not in there. And that's on purpose. Because, yeah, he's probably going to score more than majority of these guys, being that he's at the quarterback position. And I didn't want to waste one of the slots on Joe Burrow. I figured I'd just stick to running backs and wide receivers. But this is what we're going to do. I have them, organized, 1 through 10. I have their current ADP, where I would draft them, and who I would draft them over, to try to help give you guys a little bit more detail, a little bit more of a clearer picture on draft day. So without wasting any more time, let's get into the first rookie we're going to be talking about. It's Jonathan Taylor, running back now of the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I love Jonathan Taylor, especially after we left the combine. Myself and Kyle both there getting to see Jonathan Taylor. I left there saying, this dude is my number one running back. Absolutely. And then he falls to the Indianapolis Colts, which is a great place in the future. And what is it like in 2020? Still kind of somewhat up in the air. You have Marlon Mack there still. You have Nyheim Hines there also. They're all going to be involved to at least start this season. But as of right now, Jonathan Taylor has an ADP of 52 overall. Where would I draft him at? I'll actually take him a few spots earlier. I got him at 42, and a few of the names that I would draft him over, David Montgomery. I just don't really trust the offense of the Chicago Bears, even though I do think Montgomery has the ability to improve off of his 2019 numbers. And then Raheem Mostert. That's going to be a backfield that is full of options with Tevin Coleman. And now we're starting to see videos of Jerick McKinnon come out. What about Le'Veon Bell with Adam Gase there and now signing Frank Gore? Le'Veon Bell is somebody who could really cause a lot of headaches again this year. In my opinion, Jonathan Taylor may start off somewhat slow. And I've said this in other videos before, but down the stretch, he could help you win your league. I'll take him a few spots higher to grab him because more than likely, hopefully, he's my running back 3 at that point. And if that's the case, I love Jonathan Taylor. So right now, I have him as my number 1 overall rookie, and I take him right around the 42nd pick or so, right there, middle of the 4th. Next guy up is going to be Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Kansas City Chiefs, and in my opinion, the landing spot has just overpriced him in fantasy football drafts. Right now, his current ADP sitting at 31 overall, so he's sitting right there in the 3rd round still, but it's slowly climbing. Trust me, I love that he fell to Kansas City. I really want a lot of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. However, I don't want to overpay for it because Damian Williams is still going to be involved in this backfield in some capacity to at least start the season. Now, down the stretch, absolutely, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be a huge benefit to your fantasy football team, but I do have him a few spots lower, and I put him right there at the same spot as Jonathan Taylor, because really, it's kind of like 1A, 1B. I'm not that much higher on Jonathan Taylor than I am Clyde Edwards-Helaire because they're both going to have that opportunity to start slow, but down the stretch, they could be league winners. A couple of the guys that I would, rather, pass on to grab Clyde Edwards-Helaire, we've already talked about Le'Veon Bell. He's an option, but so is Chris Carson. He's somebody who I'm avoiding this year, and if he's there and I have to choose between him and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right around 42nd overall, if they fall that far, I'll take the gamble on Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. I just don't want to go that early. If I'm having to take somebody late second, early third, I want to make sure they're going to start the season, and we may not know that heading into such a weird season as it's going to be anyway. So I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire a few spots lower than what his current ADP is. Next up's Jalen Reagor, wide receiver, Philadelphia Eagles, and his ADP is crazy late still. Right now, 149th overall. Now, I have a feeling the closer we get to the season, this ADP may start to climb, but that's okay. I'm comfortable taking him right around 109, 110, right there around the 10th round or so. Jalen Reagor has value because he's going to have an immediate target share in that offense. I mean, we know that Alshon Jeffrey is not 100% healthy and more than likely won't be there for half the season. Deshaun Jackson, Marquise Goodwin. I mean, we know that Deshaun Jackson's had some issues off the field here as of late. Doesn't sound like he's going to miss any time, but Marquise Goodwin hasn't been able to stay healthy. Jalen Reagor is going to be in the slot a lot for Carson Wentz and the Philadelphia Eagles. A few of the names that I would pass on in order to take Jalen Reagor: John Brown of the Buffalo Bills, Emmanuel Sanders of the Saints, and Sterling Shepard of the Giants. I'll pass on them to take the chance on Reagor because as of right now, his ADP is so much later that he's such a great value for the immediate target share he's going to get. Now, I understand that rookie wide receivers have a little bit of a learning curve, but this kid is going to have the opportunity to be something here early in the season, and I absolutely love it. Love me some Jalen Reagor here in 2020. Justin Jefferson up next, and his ADP is actually earlier than Jalen Reagor's. It's 145 as of right now, which is a little bit confusing, I guess, to say the least. He's going to have an immediate target share also, right? No Stephon Diggs there in Minnesota. Somebody needs to assume that number 2 role. Is it going to be Olabisi Johnson? No. Is it going to be Tajay Sharp? Nope. It's going to be Justin Jefferson. However, Minnesota is not known for throwing the ball that much. Now, don't get me wrong, Jefferson's going to have a great target share, and I'll take him right there, right around his ADP, 145 or so. Actually fits for Justin Jefferson. I think that that's a good spot for him. He's late enough in the draft to where he's not a risk to your fantasy football team, but he's also there at a point to where you can grab him and hope for the upside, hope for those targets, and still be somebody with some value. Some of the guys that I would pass on to take Justin Jefferson: Robbie Anderson, Sammy Watkins. I'll pass on both of those guys and take my chance with Justin Jefferson first, especially with an ADP of 145. Next up, Cam Akers, Los Angeles Rams. His current ADP is sitting at 74. Now, that may be a little bit high. I may take him a few spots earlier than that. I have him right around 66 as of right now, and the reason I do is because this guy is still probably going to be one of the leaders in touches at the running back position here in 2020 among all rookies. He does have to, compete with Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown, but the talent level of this kid is head and shoulders above those two other options, and it shouldn't take him long to get a full workload in this offense. He produced in college behind a horrible offensive line. He can do the same thing in the NFL, and the volume is key here. I have Cam Akers going right around 65, 66 or so. Some of the guys that I would pass on in order to take Akers: fellow rookie DeAndre Swift, Darius Geis, Rojo. Absolutely over Rojo will I take Cam Akers. I really think the volume is going to be there, and the type of offense that they're going to have to run, he could be involved in the passing game also, which only boosts the possible production. Cam Akers, somebody that I'll take a stab on a few spots earlier than his ADP as of right now. Next up is the aforementioned DeAndre Swift, running back of the Detroit Lions. Right now, his current ADP is sitting at 71 overall, which is not bad. I love the talent of DeAndre Swift. What I don't love is the landing spot in Detroit with the Lions. Why? Because it's the Lions, and I really don't trust head coach Matt Patricia to use him effectively. I mean, at times in the past, we've seen Kerryon Johnson go out there and look great, and then the next thing you know, the guy just totally disappears and he's not even on the field. If Kerryon Johnson is healthy, what type of split do we see? Can we trust Matt Patricia to go out there and really utilize the skill set of a DeAndre Swift and use him on all 3 downs? Is he going to be relegated to just 3rd down? And are we going to see Kerryon Johnson early, 1st and 2nd down? Those are questions I still have, and because of it, I'm a little bit lower on DeAndre Swift, right? I'd take him right around the 80th mark, 8th round, 9th round or so as a running back 4 maybe at that point, because the skill set is off the chart. I just don't know about the opportunity. Now, a few guys that I would take DeAndre Swift over, Marlon Mack. I mean, what type of volume is he going to see? It's possible that he sees decent volume in Indianapolis, but down the stretch, DeAndre Swift has that higher upside where I think Jonathan Taylor really starts to take over the backfield in Indianapolis. That could be about the same time that DeAndre Swift starts to take over a little bit. J.K. Dobbins, a name we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm going to pass on Dobbins for Swift. I really don't think that Dobbins is utilized much here in 2020. Sony Michel. That guy is the definition of inefficient. We talked about that in the past episode, and I really don't want to deal with those headaches and be so dependent on touchdowns. So right now, I'm a little bit lower on DeAndre Swift. Got him down that 80 range or so. But like I said, it's not a talent thing. It's just a landing spot thing, and I can't trust the Lions yet. Henry Ruggs up next, wide receiver of the Las Vegas Raiders, and his current ADP is sitting right around 142, which isn't far off of what I have him. I have him right around 150 or so, about a round later. Reason for that? I think Ruggs sees an immediate target share. The problem is, I don't think he's overrun with targets to the point of where he's safe weekly. He's going to be very boom or bust. He's going to be very old school Deshaun Jackson-esque. He's going to be reliant on the big play, reliant on the touchdowns. How much do we see from Tyrell Williams? How much do we see from Bryan Edwards, a name that a lot of people want to talk about? Hunter Renfrow. Does Darren Waller regress? There's other options there now. It's not just Henry Ruggs, and I think he's just a little bit too dependent on the big play as of right now to take him any earlier. Some of the guys that I would pass on to take Henry Ruggs, Preston Williams coming off an ACL tear. Michael Pittman Jr., the rookie in Indianapolis. I think this kid has a future in Indianapolis, absolutely. But for this year, for 2020, I'd take my chances on Henry Ruggs over Michael Pittman. Also, Alshon Jeffrey. We've just talked about him. He's not 100% healthy. There's a good chance that he misses at least half of the season. Give me the opportunity with the rookie, with the young stud, the guy that can go out there and is capable of the big plays. He's just going to be somewhat reliant on him. But if you can get him late enough, he doesn't give you too much added risk to the bench of your fantasy football team. Next up is a name a lot of people have probably been waiting to hear. It's CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver, Dallas Cowboys. Now, his current ADP is sitting right around 112, but I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm not touching him anywhere near that ADP. To me, it's just too early in an offense that is so full of weapons. You got Zeke Elliott in the backfield who's going to get close to 300 carries. You also have Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup in that passing game who are all capable of getting at least 100 targets themselves. Now, Lamb is an elite talent. He was my number 1 wide receiver entering the draft, and this has nothing to do with talent-wise. This is just, I don't know how much opportunity is he really going to get in a normal redraft league. If this is Dynasty, then yes, absolutely sign me up for CeeDee Lamb, but in a normal redraft league, right now I got him right around 160 or so. Now, I would take my chances on him over the likes of Deshaun Jackson, Rashad Perryman. I mean, that's somebody who I'm not overly excited about with the Jets. N'Keal Harry, I've seen him working out here as of late. He just doesn't look that crisp. He looks a little bit slow. I'll take my chances with CeeDee Lamb at that point, but it's just going to be a little bit later in the draft. Hit that 150, 160s mark, then all of a sudden CeeDee Lamb becomes an option for me here in 2020. Jerry Jeudy up next, wide receiver, Denver Broncos, and his ADP is just 4 spots later than CeeDee Lamb. He's sitting right there at 116 overall, but just like I talked about with CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy has the same issues. He's going to be fighting for targets in an offense full of weapons. You have Cortland Sutton, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant, Melvin Gordon, Phillip Lindsay. I mean, there's tons of options in Denver, and it's a solid defense to where they could have a lot of second-half leads and not be reliant on throwing the ball all 4 quarters. That could hurt Jerry Jeudy. So, same thing that I did with Lamb. If he falls in that 150 to 160 range, then yes, I will take a stab at it because the talent is there. I'll take a stab on Jeudy over the likes of Hunter Renfrow, Curtis Samuel, and even James Washington on Pittsburgh. I'll pass on those 3 guys to take a chance on Jerry Jeudy. I'm just not doing it at his current ADP of 116. Too early for me. Last guy up is going to be J.K. Dobbins, a name that a lot of people are asking about, and I love the talent of J.K. Dobbins. I love the landing spot in Baltimore because we know they're going to run the football a lot there for many years to come. However, I think he's more of a 2021 option, not so much a 2020 option. You still have Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. You know Lamar Jackson's going to run the ball a lot himself. And right now, J.K. Dobbins' current ADP at 106 is just too early for me. For somebody who may not even see the field very much, I don't want to spend a 10th round pick. There's other talent around there. Now, I will take a stab at him right around that 145 mark or so. I'll pass on the likes of a Darrell Henderson, a Carlos Hyde, a Zach Moss. I'll pass on those guys for a J.K. Dobbins because if anything happens to Mark Ingram, then all of a sudden Dobbins becomes an option with a huge ceiling just because of the offense that he plays in there in Baltimore. I just can't do it at 106 for somebody who may not even really touch the field unless an injury actually happens. Now, 2021, watch out, J.K. Dobbins is going to skyrocket up these rankings, especially if Mark Ingram doesn't come back to Baltimore. All right, so there's 10 rookies, their current ADP, where I would draft them, and who would I pass on in order to give them an opportunity on my fantasy football roster. A little bit of a different way to look at rankings, right? Not just a boring list of 10 names, a few bullet points, you listen to it and you scan off of it and you didn't get anything from the video. We're trying to make sure that we add value to these videos, so I want some feedback. How did you like this style of a rankings video? Do you like to see maybe where I would take a certain person? The names that we're passing on, to me, that's a lot more value than just reading the list. I think that's going to help you on draft day. When you have some of those tough draft day choices to make, these are the type of videos that you'll recall in your memory to help make the best decisions possible. But I want your feedback. Leave it down below in the comment section. You know we try to respond to every comment on every video. We do our best to do that. We greatly appreciate your support. The community continues to grow. If you enjoy content like this, if you enjoy finding a place to talk football that is surrounded by positivity, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you go back and check out all of our videos here over the past few weeks. We've been doing 6 or 7 videos a week, and we will continue that all the way through the rest of the year, all the way through the season. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later.